So here's the situation. It's coming towards the end of the season and you have a huge stash of Vanguard Engrams sitting around. Maybe those obtained for when you was farming for a 5 out of 5 adept loaded question, but only ended up with a bunch of 0 out of 5 questionable why these perks even exist rolls. What should you use these engrams on? Which of these whole bunch of weapons are the standouts for both PvE and PvP? We'll start with the PvE, as I'm convinced there's only like 5 PvP players left at this point. I'll give the top 3 and a few more honourable mentions. First priority, if you don't have some already, is the Fortissimo 11 Kinetic Slug Shotgun. Why? Well, because it has the best perk lineup of any slug shotgun in the kinetic slot, and slugs have always been relevant in the meta since their introduction, mainly as part of a double slug boss DPS rotation, but they also work just fine against mages and champs. So in the 4th column, what we want to go for is Frenzy. This is available only for this kinetic slug. While options like the Heritage is fine, the 4th column's a bit of a letdown compared. Running Frenzy maxes out the reload and handling stat while active, meaning that you can focus on other stats elsewhere. You can pair this with 3rd column perks, either say 4th times a charm or Demolitionist. I'd probably go towards 4th times a charm. And for mag perks, you want the Assault Mag, and for barrel perks you probably want something like Hammer Forged Rifling. The ranged masterwork will be best, but let's be honest, we all know that all the best rolls normally end up with something stupid like a stability or reload masterwork. So the next best option I'd recommend is the loaded question. This one is loaded with great options, but the question is, which ones are the best? 4th column, Controlled Burst or Reservoir Burst. Controlled for sustained damage or Reservoir Burst for explosions, and also pretty decent sustain. 3rd column, you want either Overflow or Envious Assassin. I prefer Overflow as it reloads and doubles a mag by simply picking up special ammo, while Envious Assassin is just a little more complicated. You need to get a bunch of kills in a short time window, then swap to the loaded question. But make sure you use the ammo you previously overflowed, otherwise it won't overflow again. Oh, but also, different weapon types also give different progress towards overflow number. It's all a bit high effort just for a special weapon, to be honest. So pair these with liquid coils, as the charge difference isn't really noticeable on high impact fusions, but deals more damage per burst, and then just go something like Fluted Barrel along with a handling masterwork, as more handling for these sort of weapons is always appreciated. In 3rd place we have the Hothead. I need to include this one, otherwise the comments will not let me forget about it. It probably would have been higher still before this season, but new rockets have given it some pretty steep competition. There's 2 ways I'd build this. First one, you want to go with Clown Cartridge and Field Prep. This is pretty good if you're in a fire team with a Galahorn user, and just want to reliably have a 2-round mag with maximum reserves. If you want to have something where you can get your most damage per rocket, I'd say go with Explosive Light and Auto-Loading Holster. This can be used on the go or as part of a boss damage rotation. For either of these 2 setups, I'd heavily suggest going with both Impact Casing and Quick Launch, alongside a handling masterwork. This will give you the most damage per shot and the biggest handling bump available. Now for a few honourable mentions for PvE. Empty Vessel is a reliable grenade launcher for blinding grenades, or a quick swap weapon with auto-loading and Vorpal. The Wilder Fly is better overall though. Wendigo GL7 is a fantastic heavy GL, still not being a top meta pick, but its time will surely come soon. Shout out to my fellow copium inhalers. Anyway, onto the PvP choices. I got this one as the very last adept roll of it I could manage for a week, and it's amazing, even just without the adept variant, the Hung Jury. I know it's a scout rifle and on top of that a 180 archetype, but there's a huge saving grace. This comes in the form of a perk, Box Breathing. Activated by simply ADSing for a few seconds. When this perk is active, it allows for the first crit to hit for 93, enabling a 3-tap kill at a time to kill of 0.67 seconds. On tier 6 resilience or lower opposition, you can even 2-crit one body. Other than Box Breathing, the other perk options are much more flexible. In the 3rd column, you could go with either Rapid Hit, No Distractions, or Surplus. I'd probably say Surplus out of these 3, but honestly it's up to you. For your barrel and mag options, anything which bump up either your stability or handling are also appreciated. Next up, the Horror's Least. This one's been around for a long time and has always been in and out of the meta, but it's still really good. Probably better than ever right now after Zen Moment became a real contender for a top PvP perk. I'd say this or Perpetual Motion are both pretty good options for the 3rd slot. Pair this with Kill Clip and you have a weapon which is absolutely fantastic at slaying out in 6's game modes. I mean, it is still a push rifle, but you could get away with not being labelled a Destiny Dad as you can be quite aggressive with this thing. For your other options, you want to go with accurized rounds, arrowhead break, and a range or stability masterwork. Finally, an option for a strong special weapon, the Plug 1. It's one of the most reliable fusion rifles you can find in game, and I hate to say it as nobody really wants to see any more of this, but it pairs really well with Antius Ward's Striker Titan. Kickstart and under pressure is the way to go. Of course, you do have to play into Kickstart, hence why Antius just makes the most sense. For other options, you want to maximise range. Go with Projection Fuse, Hammer Forged Rifling, and a ranged masterwork. Honourable mentions include the third Axiom. This is a horror's least, but a 390 RPM basically. A lot of perk options though. Zen Moment and Headseeker sounds good on paper, but unfortunately this archetype is a little weak without damage boosts. Buzzard is one of the best sidearms in the game if you're a sidearm person. I'm not really one of those though, so I can't say too much on it. I don't know how hard the rangefinder change will hit this one. And that's my top picks covered. Remember, the more resets you have, the more perk options will become available on the base Vanguard weapons. The Nightfall weapons and Legacy weapons will only ever roll with one option in each perk slot though. You will still have to fight RNG to get some of these rolls, but who knows, you might end up with a few of them. Thank you for watching.